Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Ramona, California, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Walk On Wednesday. That was awkward. Someone was calling me exactly as I said. My phone was ringing in my pocket. Welcome to Walk On Wednesday. Walk On Wednesday is a day where we bring somebody cool, interesting from our community and pick their brain for 5 or 10 minutes. And today, I'm staying at a very interesting person's house. This is Mukunda Kishore. He was a guest on the show back in Super Soul Sacred Sangha days, because I think Shelter or Youth of Today played in San Diego, and we all stayed here overnight and crashed, and we brought you on. You know, Mukunda, he owns a it's very clever on his part. He owns a tattoo shop and a tattoo removal shop next door. I was joking that he got some bad tattoos, but he's got great tattoos. And he owns a straight edge barber shop in San Diego, where he's the chief barber. And he also is opening this incredible vegan Jewish deli.
No
vegan
kidding.
Jewish deli. It's about to open in San Diego. There's already one in Portland. It's called Ben and Esther's, which is opened by another one of our Zoomers, Govardhan, who runs the Portland Bhakti Center, which a bunch of you guys came to Nepal with me from the Portland Bhakti Center. And welcome to the show, brother. Can you tell us about vegan Jewish deli?
Can you guys hear me okay?
No, not so well.
How's that? Better?
Yeah, vegan Jewish deli.
All right, vegan Jewish deli. So it's actually started by Govardhan Prabhu. He runs the Bhakti Center there in Portland. And Ben and Esther are actually his grandparents. He's Jewish born and has Jewish grandparents, obviously. So, during quarantine, really, it was his idea to open a takeout only place, and Jewish deli was the idea. Portland is huge on vegan food, and that was pretty much it. So he partnered with me because his manager wants to move to San Diego. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm pulling you in closer because Kaustubha is going to chastise me for
it.
you.
Yeah.
On you. He's going to chastise me for you.
Got it. And so, we're going to be opening here in just a couple months. So we're stoked on that and have had good response so far.
What's in for those who are like not New Yorkers, or don't go to Jewish delis, what's in a Jewish deli? And what's in a vegan Jewish deli?
Sure. You got like matzo ball soup. You've got Reuben sandwiches, club sandwiches, anything you get at a Jewish deli, basically. Pastrami. Big pickle jar there. But yeah,
Knishes?
mainly,
You got knishes there?
We got knishes. Yep.
I'm coming back to San Diego just for the Jewish deli.
Do you need tasters while you're there? Because we're going to be out there in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah.
We won't be ready by that time, unfortunately.
All right.
Next time we can cater.
That'd be
cater
good.
the event.
I've already been in touch with Mara about good vegan matzo ball soup recipe. So
she didn't mention it to us. Strangely, she's moonlighting on Wisdom of the Sages, being consultation.
My secret consulting job. You guys found me out.
I didn't think it'd come out like this, Mara. Live on the show. After we pay her so well. So Ben and Esther's on you got an Instagram account?
At Ben and Esther's on Instagram, and then we're on Facebook too. And so we're stoked to have anybody come out, and we're also trying to set up a model where we can have other people in other cities interested.
Yeah.
I
was gonna say you got to get that in New York. I mean, come on.
For sure.
Mara, that's what you should do, Mara. Ben and Esther's.
Let's do
Chat
it.
in New York.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That's it. We're trying to keep the devotees employed and trying to do something cool.
That sounds beautiful. Great. Anyway, congratulations. And he's good. You know, he's one of these guys, Mukunda, that's successful at everything he does. Got a beautiful family, beautiful home, beautiful people in his life. And he's we went to India together. He came on pilgrimage. He was a hardcore guy, Youth of Today fan, became a Shelter fan, became a devotee, got initiated a couple years ago. Been on pilgrimage, lost his material mind, and the rest is history.
Now he makes vegan pastrami sandwiches.
That's right. Yeah.
Thanks, Prabhu. Thanks for hosting us. We love you. Haribol. That's awesome, isn't it?
That is awesome.
So everybody get on your iPhone right this moment and follow at Ben and Esther's. How do you spell Esther? E-S-T.
ESTHERS.
Yeah, ESTHERS. Thank you. And no one said anything, but I'm wearing a new Buggle Bundy today. You see this? Others, you can't see this, but I'm wearing a beautiful Buggle Bundy from at Gopi Skirts or gopiskirts.com. No, this isn't a skirt. It's a Buggle Bundy. It's one of those tying North India shirt, but I really like the red. What do you think, Kaustubha?
You look great, Raghunath. You just look absolutely fantastic.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, you could
You weren't happy with
them
that?
at Gopi Skirts. Doug. You can follow them at Gopi Skirts.
I'm being sincere when I say that.
I know you are.
Okay.
People think it's sarcastic, but I know you're being sincere. I got to do something. I'm aging quickly, rapidly, hideously, and I'm thinking a new shirt will help. You know.
Well, we do what we can, and then we just do our service, right?
I'm a young 55. They've told me, which is like a 51. So speaking of transcending the body,
yeah,
let's dive into the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are heading right after this class. We are doing we're going right to the Grand Canyon, my friend.
Well, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
We gave you a little mission yesterday. Did you complete it?
What was the mission?
You're supposed to bring back a desert person.
You know what? I thought I saw a desert person because Rocco was riding the dirt bike out on the road, and I was sitting there just chanting japa. It was so nice, just chanting japa in the desert in the high heat. And then I look out in the distance and I see, oh my God, there's like a freaking random man just walking in the desert. And I was like, it's so, but the person was like sort of well dressed, which I wasn't expecting for the desert. Sort of looked like high fashion in the desert. And I was like, what the hell is this guy doing out there? Just when he's just picking things up, like
tell me you didn't shoot him. Okay, please.
Almost shot him. It was Bhakti Justin. It was Bhakti Justin probably in the desert. I was expecting to look. You were picking up like desert sticks, toads. Okay. Oh man, I had dreams of sidewinders last night too. I had like,
roadrunners? Were there any roadrunners out there?
I had dreams of anacondas in Vrindavan. That's what I had dreams of. I just remembered now. Okay. I was in Vrindavan last night in my dreams, and it was incredibly sweet, charming dream, except there were anacondas. You know why? Because we were dreaming, we were having that talk last night about bathing in Radhakund, and we were wondering if there were alligators in Radhakund. Yeah, that conversation permeated into my dreams.
Okay.
Okay, let's take this to a more transcendental note. Although we were talking about Radhakund, that's pretty transcendental. Sure. Welcome, everybody. If you're new to the show, welcome. This is the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the book of yoga, living your yoga. Sometimes people say, well, live your yoga off the mat. This is it.
All right.
How do you apply yoga philosophy? The stuff you learn in a teacher training for like 4 hours. You like it, you go away and thought that was refreshing. How do you listen to it, or how do you apply that stuff? First of all, you got to hear it every day. By hearing it every day, it starts to seep in. I've created a wall, so I can't hear. I hear what I want to hear. I'm locked into my patterns. My wheel is in a rut, so to speak. It's hard for me to break out of that rut or jump off of the train track. But by hearing things every day on a regular basis, that's our spiritual bhakti sadhana, our regulation. And in that regulative practice, it starts to crack us open and gives us a new paradigm of reality. And it changes us. I'm looking at all these Zoomers today. We have people live on Zoom every day, but there's thousands of others that listens to this show every day. It's almost unbelievable, but it becomes part of their new intelligence. And in Bhakti, we accept that we have a material intelligence and we have a spiritual intelligence, and we're refining our spiritual intelligence. And that intelligence is already within. This is what Kaustubha was sharing yesterday. We called it like a macadamia nut. That juicy, sweet, fatty nut is in there. It's a very hard shell. And the hard shell is the body and the mind, which has been programmed for lifetimes. And then it just becomes sort of calcified and hardened. And then we need to hear on a regular basis spiritual information, and it starts to create little fissures. You like that word? Fissures. And it starts to seep out the spirit soul, the refined intelligence, and it starts to change our choices. And from the changing of choices, we change our destiny. What do you think of that, Kaustubha?
All right.
Fissures.
What exactly is a fissure?
You know what a fissure is? Mara,
Really.
tell him. You're an archeologist. You're a
She's looking it
part-timer.
up.
A fissure is
I think it's like
crack
a
in a
crack,
stone.
but I'll
Okay.
It's like a crack in a stone.
Fissures.
yeah,
Like
a
gas.
long narrow
Long,
a long
crack.
narrow opening or line of breakage made by cracking or splitting, especially in rock or earth.
Yeah, so the ego gets a fissure, like when we crack, and then the soul can start to shine out a little. I'm no longer acting on ego. I can make a different choice. And I think that happens a lot, especially on that romance dance we do with Bhakti Yoga. We start to realize, man, I've been acting on ego my entire life. My whole representation of myself to the world is not based in reality, and it's
a lie.
It's a little heartbreaking. You're like, because you start thinking, I'm fake. I've been fake my whole life, and it's beautiful. It's the shedding of skin. It's that snake shedding of skin.
You're getting into all these desert things, fissures,
Desert
snakes,
analogies,
shedding
my friend.
It's all about the desert analogies.
All right. So, Kaustubha, why don't you bring us to some beautiful place right now in the Bhagavatam?
Should we chant the mantras first?
Yes. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmidatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who's opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, having been born in the darkness of ignorance. I said that a little backwards, but
Flipped
it's
it.
the same thing. Same thing. You know, I tell you, it's very, very important to say these pranam prayers, these appreciations before we start reading. First thing in the morning. People talk like this now. They get it. People get it instinctually. They get, I've got to go through a gratitude checklist. And this is the big part of our culture is we've got nothing on our own. Everything we have is a gift and a love from others. What I have is a gift from others. I'm not a self-made man. It's a beautiful way to see the world. And it keeps us not humble in a self-deprecating way, but it keeps us honest that we are actually all small and made up of the love of other people. And I offer my obeisances to you, Kaustubha. Do you know that?
I didn't know it, but now I do. So I'm going to
I
offer
offer
right
my
back.
obeisances to you. I go through a whole list of people every morning that I thank. Mary's
Do you
like,
really?
what about me? I do.
Is it written down or is it
Well,
different
no,
every day?
I have a have written it down, but it's a mental list, and I switch it out. Sometimes I'll pop you out, pop somebody else in.
Whoa.
But you generally get some credit.
Thank
you get credit on a regular basis. You know why? Because it's not just our teachers, but when you have peers that have integrity, they're part of you. You know, because you hang with them on a regular basis, and they keep your peers keep your accountability.
They do.
And we need people like that. I need you. I need you.
I need you. Right? As a matter of fact, I think I'm a little too needy here for me, Roger.
But you know what I mean? I thank you. And it's important. Yeah, I even thank the people who are not even Krishna conscious anymore, or like actively Krishna conscious, but have touched my life because I see that God used them to speak to me. And then I think of them, I pray for them, and I'm grateful to them, and I realize they had some spiritual effect on my life.
You need them too.
I need them too.
You know, I was sharing my appreciation for you just the other day, Raghunath, and but I posted it this morning for Patreon members. I posted it on Patreon.
You posted appreciation for me on Patreon?
Well, I posted an interview that I did the other night. You know, and you know who was interviewing me?
Who?
Sarvabhauma.
Our own Sarvabhauma?
Yeah, my old friend Sarva.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
What was he doing?
He was interviewing me.
For what?
What was he doing? Like the Houston ISKCON Temple has every Friday they interview someone. So they interviewed me on the topic of gratitude.
Oh, really?
Attitude of gratitude. So
Sarvabhauma.
So for Patreon members, I posted that this morning. You can go and hear that lecture there. But I shared a little appreciation for you, Raghunath.
Oh, bravo.
And I shared appreciation for Sarvabhauma. What a great soul that guy is, right?
Great soul.
Humble,
Great soul.
dedicated.
Humble, dedicated, years.
Year and year.
Yeah.
And but you know who else I want to share some appreciation for today, Raghunath?
Yeah.
If you gaze over my left shoulder, you will see.
Mother Yamuna. Today's her appearance day.
Today's appearance day, Yamuna Devi.
So if you don't know Mother Yamuna, she was one of these, like, one of the founders, like real propagators of the Hare Krishna movement. And of course, Prabhupada, our guru's guru, was the one who initiated the teachings, these ancient teachings in the Western world before they were just sort of more secretive. You know, you could find them, but they were like just in India. But this is one of the first disciples. She was from San Francisco, but she was just so charismatic and dedicated and just like impressive woman.
Yeah.
And Haridas, Henry Shokov, he's listening on Zoom right now. He had so much special time with her.
She lived
Matter
in
of fact, she lived in his home. Henry's got a big house in Washington, D.C., and Shelter, our band, stayed there, and we had the special good fortune of being there when she was there.
I wish man, I missed out on that because I never got to know her very well. I barely met. I just kind of met her.
Well,
really
if you didn't know, she was good friends with the Beatles and George Harrison, and she lived with the Beatles, and Shama Sundar did as well.
Yeah.
And George loved her singing. George Harrison loved her singing.
She's had these talents. Like whatever she did it really great. Right?
She was super cool. Just a cool like teenager. Got into bhakti in the 60s.
But with all
like
kind of skills.
Multiple skills. So then George was like, "You're such a good singer. Come to Apple Studios. We're going to record a record for you." And she called all the devotees.
He said,
she called all the devotees there. And they recorded the famous, and if you don't have this, go to Spotify right now and go to Radha Krishna Temple. That's what the name of the record is, Radha Krishna Temple. It's a whole album, and every song is a hit. If you haven't heard this album before, you're going to thank me for this. 20 years from now, you're going to thank me because you're going to play this record.
It may take a
every
while.
day. And when Prabhupada heard this, their guru, they were like, Prabhupada said, okay, this one song, this is going to be played at every Hare Krishna temple every day.
And he cried
And
when he first heard it.
Huh?
He cried when he first heard it. Yeah. When he first heard it.
Yeah. The Incredibles. And not only that, it's not just like a bunch of Hare Krishnas think this is cool. It became a #1 record. You know, they have a TV show in England called Top of the Pops.
Top of the Pops, yeah.
It's sort of like American Bandstand, something like that, where they bring the band on or something like that, and they lip sync it, and everybody dances. And it was #1 on Top of the Pops. It was a #1 record in Europe and America, and they toured the Hare
It wasn't #1 in America, but in Europe it was.
In Europe, I said Europe and England. I meant. And they toured, and she told me all about their tour because I had the good fortune of living with her for 1 month. And you know what she would do?
What?
She would every day she would do the Mangalartik, the morning worship of her deities, Ban Bihari, with the name of her deities, Radha Ban Bihari, and she'd worship the deities, and she'd sing the morning program, and she'd lead the whole morning program, and then she'd give us Bhagavatam class every day.
Oh man!
Every day. And no, it gets better. Because another thing that made her famous was she wrote a world famous cookbook called Lord Krishna's Cuisine.
This is the thing to understand, right? It's like Srila Prabhupada, her guru, asked her to collect these recipes, learn all these recipes, and share all these recipes. So she makes a cookbook. But when she makes a cookbook, it won the Cookbook of the Year award, right? What award does it have there on it, Mara?
Mara, read that award, please.
What award?
I'm pretty sure it's the James Beard Award.
Yeah.
Is that you're a cook? Is that a famous award?
Yeah, it's like the most famous. Yeah.
And you know, it wasn't just for vegetarian books or something like that. That was like for all cookbooks. So that's the quality of her service, right?
It was
her mind was so
stuff.
pure that she would just focus on her service so deeply with such devotion, and amazing things would manifest.
So and you know what's great about that cookbook is, you know, sometimes before recipes, she'll tell a little anecdote of her traveling with India and Prabhupada. Prabhupada hand taught her how to cook. She was a wealth of great stories. She'd tell us these great Prabhupada stories because she was traveling with Prabhupada, and all these very intimate stories. And it was like one after another. And it was such a sweet time that we had together there. And then Shelter went on tour, and we saw her in Vancouver because she lived up in a farm in Vancouver called Sharanagati. Clayton's here; he knows that place. And then I didn't see her for many, many years. And then she passed away. Well, you know what? I was in India with Raghunath Swami, and Raghunath Swami said we were visiting the hospital because they have this hospital, the Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Mumbai, and he said, you know who's staying at the hospital, who's sick right now, but she's recovering, is Mother Yamuna. I said, you're kidding. I haven't seen her in many, many years. Can I go see her? And he said, yes. So he brought me up to see her. And I was saying,
yes,
we had this
I will take you
very
to her.
sweet exchange. We just stayed there, and we both cried. And we hugged her. And I said, I missed you so much. I've said, it was one of those things. I'm so grateful that you came into my life. I really feel like she came directly into my soul and touched my heart and changed the way I look at the world and look at Bhakti and look at the.
You know, the thing is, Raghunath, we could go on and on about her accomplishments, right? You know, whether it's in the field of music, whether it's in the field of cooking, book publishing, you could say, like, as a missionary, as a preacher, she was like incredibly successful in so many ways, and she had so many talents and skills. But really, it was just the quality of her consciousness which really set her apart. Like this was a person that she really embodied all, like we're going to read today about what it means to have full God consciousness. But she was living that, like moment by moment, and if you really want to find out, but a lot of how bhakti is practiced, if you really want to make it dynamic in your life, is you have to find someone that really possesses it in their heart, right? That really has true devotion, and their mind is totally fixed on it. When you get close to that person, you know, and hear from that person, what to speak of serve that person, you know, then bhakti really becomes dynamic. And so she had that with Srila Prabhupada, and certain people you're mentioning right now, just like even, you know, by 1 month with her, it was a life-changing thing. And, you know, of course, Genevieve, who we regularly have on the show, you know, who's Genevieve Harrison, who's such an incredible devotional musician, you know, as a young lady, she got, you know, this association of Yamuna, and you can hear it through the devotion in her music, you know. But if anyone really wants to find out about her, there's this book, Yamuna Devi.
Hold it up.
Yamuna Devi, A Life of Unalloyed Devotion. It's a 2-part series. And it's a book that, you know, it covers her life story. It shows all the challenges that she went through, you know, like and a lot of challenges, you know, whether it, you know, in ISKCON, you know, she dealt with a lot of, you know, a bigotry, you know, towards women and all that. She was super qualified, and there's like a lot of far less qualified people judging her or, you know, getting in her way in different ways. And you just see, like, you know, the quality of her consciousness never wavered. She never became bitter. She just became deeper and deeper and deeper in her devotion. Just an incredible, incredible soul. So you're talking about sharing appreciation, you know.
You know, it's important to share appreciations. This is the Bhagavatam. Matter of fact, the whole Bhagavatam, we're talking about Brahma appreciating Lord Vishnu. This is an ongoing theme. It's not different than the Bhagavatam. We haven't taken a far, you know, what's it called? A
detour?
We haven't detoured. This is it. We're having Appreciation Day, and this is part of the Bhagavatam, is sharing the appreciation of great souls. And so I'm so happy she was in my life. I'm grateful to Haridas, Henry Shelkoff, for making that happen for me, changed my life. And we need people like this to touch our heart. We have to search them out and find them and render service to them and ask what we can do and listen to them. And it changes us. So grateful. Feeling grateful.
You feel grateful
Hashtag
today.
feeling grateful.
Okay. All right. We did our mantras.
We did our mantras, and we left off on text 3933.
That's right, 3933.
3933.
Yeah. Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 33. And we were reading the commentary on this, but we just got started on it. But this is such an important, powerful commentary.
Oh, yeah, we only read like one line of the commentary.
Yeah,
is that how it went?
I think we read a few sentences, but why don't we go through this again? Why don't we read the verse and dive into this commentary again?
When you are free from the conception of gross and subtle bodies, and when your senses are free from all influences of the gunas, or the material modes of nature, you'll realize your pure form in my association. At that time, you'll be situated in pure consciousness.
Okay, so this is Lord Vishnu speaking to Lord Brahma, the creator, as he's about to take up his role of creation. He's concerned, he's fearful, he's a bit depressed. You know, there's some anxiety, there's some depression there, looking at the task ahead of him. But he's being reassured here by Lord Vishnu, and he's describing that if you fix your consciousness on me, you know, if you serve with the right attitude, you'll begin to see me everywhere, you know, but not only that, through that service, he says you'll realize your pure form in my association. In other words, that macadamia nut that's there within us, that pure consciousness, that eternal consciousness, which is lying there waiting to be revived, you know, waiting to be awoken within us, it will awaken, and you'll realize who I am really underneath it all, eternal, that eternal you, and you'll realize it in association with God. And he says at that
crack
time,
the geode, the geode to find the jewel. You know what a geode is? It's like a big round rock, and you got to crack it open. More desert analogies, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see some cactuses out there? Cacti?
Oh my God, barrel cactus, Akatillos, all the some of the agaves are all sprouting with yellow flowers right now. It's quite breathtaking, truthfully.
Really? Is it very silent out there, like super quiet?
Very silent. Very silent.
Is that the best part about it? Like, there's just no sound?
There's no sound. And what's also cool is the giant vultures.
You saw vultures?
Super cool. Yeah, so many vultures.
Did you see roadrunners?
We did. We saw a roadrunner. Saw a desert frog.
Jackrabbits?
Saw jackrabbits. Saw some coyotes.
You saw a coyote and a roadrunner.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
It just hit me while you're talking. The cartoon, the coyote and the roadrunner.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
I saw a coyote with an umbrella. How he always holds
umbrella?
Okay. Kaustubha, you're taking us off our transcendental
Commentary
topic again.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here we go.
Okay. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that a person whose only desire is to render transcendental loving service to the Lord is a free person in any condition of material existence. That service attitude is the swarup, or the real form of the living being.
Okay, so again, that sentence is just so powerful, right? In other words, who am I really underneath it all? Well, here's the clue, right? It has to do with service attitude. Like, we're generally trying to, I was thinking about this morning, Raghunath. This is a little experiment we could do, right?
Yeah.
Is it, like, what's that? Or is it Pippin or something?
I tried. Les Mis.
Okay. So when we're serving, like, all of us will have to pick up, do different services at different times. In our mind, are we thinking, when will the service end?
Right.
When do I stop serving?
Because
that's when the happiness comes, right? Like, once I don't have to be serving anymore.
And the answer is never. You never stop
scary,
serving.
Right? Yeah,
that's the perfection.
Prabhupada's going to get
well
to
as
that. Yeah, because he'll get to that in a few sentences where he's saying, like, people shudder to think about, like, service being my eternal svarupa, my eternal engagement, my eternal form. But here he says that service attitude is the svarupa, or the real form of the living entity. If we were taught this when we're children, right? Oh, yeah, well, we become happy when we serve. That's our nature, so that's why.
That's the teaching. That's the real teaching. It's interesting. Staying with Mother Yamuna, she's very exalted. I should be carrying her around on a palanquin on my shoulders or something like that, worshiping her. And instead, I'm taking from her. She's giving me class. She's doing the morning program for shelter. Then, I didn't even tell you this. She was working. She was at Henry's working on her new cookbook. She was cooking every day for us. We were taste testing.
Oh, man.
That crazy? She was just rendering in her great perfected stage. She was singing for us, teaching us, and cooking for us. Come on.
Who was serving who here?
I know.
Okay. Let's keep going.
All right. The service attitude is the sarupa, the real form,
of the living entity.
The living entity. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it also confirms this statement by declaring that the real spiritual form of the living entity is eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord. That's it. That is the final goal anyway. The Mayavadi school shudders at the thought of service attitude in the living entity, not knowing that in the transcendental world, the service of the Lord is based on transcendental love.
That sentence right there is like, it's so full of meaning.
Well, maybe let's explain Mayavadi's school. We speak of, like, God has personal form and an impersonal form, and we're good with that. That's like a very zooming out way to see how people can relate to spirit. Some people don't worship God in form. In Bhakti, we like the idea of reciprocal love with a form of God. We worship Ram or Vishnu or Krishna. But some people say, no, God is light, God is an energy. That's okay. Within the Vedic paradigm, that's okay. It's when you start saying things like, the form doesn't even really exist. It's just there as a stepping stone. You can put your foot on Krishna's head just to get to the light. That is intolerable. I don't want to hear Krishna.
I just
as a
cannot
stepping
take
stone.
it.
That I will not tolerate. Lord,
Yeah.
baby Lord Krishna is not a stepping stone for nothing.
Okay. So it's a school of thought that interprets Vedanta, or interprets, this Vedic literature, with the idea that ultimately all form and even all individuality is illusion, right? So truth, when you get to the level of truth, all there is one, and it's just divine light, and that is God, and we are that divine light. We are God. We just need to remember it, and when you remember it, then you realize that all form, including the form of Krishna, right, and all individuality. Like, in other words, right now I'm talking, Raghunath's listening. Well, actually, maybe he's not listening. It looks like
I'm
he's on his
listening.
phone right now or something like that.
I'm listening.
But it's like I'm me and Raghunath's Raghunath and Mara's Mara and everybody else is everybody else. They're saying that's illusion, right? Like our individuality actually doesn't even exist. And in any case, we can get into all the. I find it a very problematic, idea. But it's one thing to say I prefer the non-personal manifestation of God, but it's another thing to deny the personal form, and that's what he's speaking about here. And he's saying that the people that are fixed on that idea, their idea of liberation or moksha or mukti, is that I'll become free from the influence of this material energy. I will realize that I'm God, and I will merge into that oneness, I'll merge into that divine light, and I'll just feel the bliss of that oneness in peace, like that eternally. That's their idea. So he's saying that those people that are embracing that idea, they shudder at the thought of a service attitude in the living entity. Like he just mentioned that's our eternal role, as we're eternally serving. And someone's thinking, oh my God, that sounds like hell, right? The service never ends. It's like, when do you not have to be serving anymore?
It's like it's like the pot washing, and they always bring a new pot on. Okay, here's more pots. Wow!
Eternally? Yeah. But the idea is that,
eternally.
But so what Srila Prabhupada is going to do in this, he did in this sentence, and he's going to do throughout this commentary, is he's going to try to help us understand that when you serve with love, just think about it. When you're serving the one that you love, it's not like, oh God, I need to serve now. I wish I didn't have to do this. It's a spontaneous thing that springs from the heart, that when you love someone, you want to please them. That's your expression of love. And then that person wants to please you, then they're serving you. And that's the formula. It's
called loving reciprocation.
Loving reciprocation.
We see this in this world because people are like, nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Why can't I love you? Right? People say that all the time. How about just love people? Start loving. Stop waiting around for love. Just start loving people.
Acting on love, right?
Act loving. Act loving, damn it. Stop complaining that people don't love you. Sick of your crap. I'm really grateful for all the Californians that are listening now. They can't, a lot of times they can't listen because it's too early, but now they're listening because we're doing it at 8:00 this week. And if you're not listening, Californians, you should be up at 5 like me, listening, doing this. Okay, you have no excuse anymore, you lazy Californians. Right. Okay.
So let's continue here.
Continuing on. Okay.
Transcendental loving service.
I've got this new thing on my computer. It's very interesting. It highlights the text in a massive, gigantic way for blind people like me.
You seem to be still having trouble reading it.
Never to be compared.
Okay.
No, it's just I have problems finding it on my screen. Transcendental loving service is never to be compared to the forced service in the material world, right? In the material world, even one is under the conception that he is no one's servant. He is still the servant of his senses, right? Under the dictation of the material modes. People hear about service, like we say, transcendental loving service, and people will sometimes recoil and say, I'm nobody's servant. I don't serve anybody. And Prabhupada's making this beautiful point. Oh, yeah? You're the servant of your senses.
They're just dragging you around, telling you to go here, telling you to go there.
Something. Bob Dylan said it best. You got to serve somebody, right? It may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you got to serve somebody.
I didn't know until just the other day that Raghu was like this encyclopedia of Bob Dylan lyrics.
I was a massive Bob Dylan fan. I didn't listen to any music because I played violin. So I listened to like Mozart and Chopin and,
Get out of here. Now you're revealing more.
Yeah, I played violin and trumpet. I was in like an orchestra and in bands for my whole life until 9th grade. Then someone gave me a Bob Dylan. My brother gave me a Bob Dylan record. Then I got obsessively into Bob Dylan, and then it happened. Someone handed me Sex
Pistols.
Never mind the Bullocks.
It was all downhill
I was
from
like,
there.
okay, goodbye, Bob Dylan.
This is more fun.
That was the gate. We got to get Johnny Rodden on the show.
We got to do it. Or at least Steve Jones, right?
Steve Jones, you said?
Yeah, get Steve
That'll
Jones
be
on
good.
the show.
Factually, no one is. Yeah. Factually, no one is master here in the material world. This is it. Okay. Factually, no one is the master here in the material world.
We're trying to make ourselves a master, right? But we never are.
I remember when I first moved to New York City, and I never wanted a dog. I'm a cat person. I never wanted a dog, and my wife really wanted a dog. And we had a puppy. We had 2 little children in New York City and a puppy. And then 2 older children who were not that old, like 9 and 10 or something. And 2 like little infants and a dog. In New York City, if you're a parent in New York City, it is like hellacious. Because once the dog has to go to the bathroom, you got to get dressed. And if no one's around, you got to get 2 little kids dressed. And then you got to get, and you know what it's like to dress a little toddler in, it's exhausting, the most exhausting thing, putting winter clothes on a toddler. And then you got to get them both dressed or else the dog is going to go to the bathroom in the house. So you're like getting them, and then you got to put them in a stroller. You got to get down the elevator. Then you got to do this. And I'm just trying to chant some japa. And it's like 6 a.m, trying to get some time, putting the kids' clothes on. And what do you have to do in New York when the dog goes to the bathroom? You literally pick up the feces of a dog in your hand. So I'm moving the joppa bag
in your
out
hand?
of my hand.
Tell me you had a bag or something.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you don't pick it up in your hand. You put a little plastic bag on your hand. And you pick it up. And I thought to myself, what happened?
Who's the master here?
Who's the master here? I am serving a dog's feces. I remember being a brahmachari. I never had to have these worries. I was a monk. I didn't walk around I'm serving a dog. I'm supposed to be serving God, and I'm serving a dog's feces. How did everything go wrong? I could have no time
follow the chain back to how you got there.
It all started with a thought.
That's right.
Okay. Where are we at?
Actually, no one is master here in the material world.
Factually, no one is master of the material world. That's a great statement.
Mm-hmm. And therefore?
And therefore, factually, no one is master here in the material world, and therefore, the servant of the senses have a very bad experience of servitude. They shudder at the thought of service because they have no knowledge of the transcendental position. In the transcendental loving service, the servitor is as free as the Lord. The Lord is the Svarat, or fully independent, and the servant is also fully independent, or Swarat, in the spiritual atmosphere, because there is no forced service. There is the transcendental loving service, and this is due to spontaneous love. A reflected glimpse of such service is experienced in the service of the mother unto the child, and the friend's service unto the friend, or a wife's service to the husband, or the husband's service to the wife, or Raghunath's service to the dog's feces.
No, that was a different one. That was different. All of those examples were meant like, I'm doing it out of love, right? Like the mother serving the child, and she's just like, you don't have to tell her to do it. She doesn't want to stop. She just loves that child.
I use this example. It was a very, very sweet example. When I was moving to that same apartment in New York City, Kaustubha lovingly came over and helped us move in. He actually helped me do demolition. You remember that, Kaustubha?
I remember I had a hammer and tearing down that wall.
Tearing down that wall. Kaustubha had like nothing to. He had like there was no reason for him to do
Because
that.
of
It was
love.
like I just gave him a sledgehammer, and he just started sledgehammering down a wall for me. He just came, and he was dressed nicely. I felt bad. He was dressed reasonably nicely. When Kaustubha puts on like work clothes, they're still sort of nice and
No,
pressed.
I remember I was wearing Dickies.
Yeah.
Like that's like work clothes.
He's
But
like,
you're
I'm
like,
gonna
you're
wear
dressed so
some-
nice. I'm like, these are work pants, guy. This is what like
I'm gonna
garbage
do some
men
work.
wear.
And then when we actually moved into that other apartment upstairs in that same building, the entire Bhakti Center Brahmachari crew came. I mean, if you know what it's like to move into an apartment, you do. Anybody who lives in New York City, moving into an apartment is, unless you have a crap load of money, you're trying to like your best to make it work. You got a moving team. You got a double parking the truck. You're getting tickets in the car. You got somebody sitting in the car. You got people opening the door and getting buzzed in. You got to use the service elevator. It's such a pain in the neck. I had like 11 brahmacharis coming over from the Bhakti Center. And they are singing songs, dancing in the elevator, loading stuff in. And I had like 2 little babies. I couldn't even help. I had 2 little babies in each arm.
Well, just think about that. And I had the similar experience because I had Mara, I had David Charles Wilson, and Sean Murphy, vegan trucker, all come over to help me move. But in both cases, just like you're describing right now, like they're singing songs. If in your mind you identify service as if you shudder at the thought of service, and you think service is like something that is imposed on me, then you enter that service with a mentality through which you feel no joy.
You resent it. You resent it.
But you're saying like these monks from the Bhakti Center, their whole thing is like their whole life is geared towards the aim of gaining more deeply this realization that happiness actually comes through service, right? Like they're convinced of that idea, and so they're seeing you as connected to God, and therefore by serving you, they're serving God. And so now, whatever you need us to come over and knock down a wall.
When's the last time you had a moving team singing songs while they're moving? Like it's just not part of this material world.
It's like a cartoon, like the dwarves or something like that, right?
Yeah, people are doing labor. Miserable. They're doing hard labor in a miserable state of mind. They're doing the great. And then I went to offer money. Thank you so much. Let me give you guys something. You guys have nothing. Let me give you something. Oh, Prabhu, no. If you give me money, then it's not seva. Don't cheat us out of the seva, Prabhu.
I see that.
You know who was on that team? Keshavacharya, Nam Ras from the Nam Ras podcast.
Nam Ras from the late morning show.
Om
podcast.
Rishikesh. Om Rishikesh was part of that posse. Bhakti Bill, I think his name was. Bhakti Bill. Who lives in Vrindavan now. Sweet guy.
We should try to see Om. He's out there in California,
Okay, let's reach out to Om.
Yeah.
He's
Okay,
a great
let's
chef too.
He's a great chef.
He's a great
yeah.
chef too. See, Mara has no envy. You notice that about her?
Yeah.
She's just like, he's a great chef. She wasn't sitting there like, now they're going to glorify another cook. Why?
First this Jewish deli and now Om.
And the Jewish deli. Huh? No, she's not like that. There's no scarcity with Mara. Everybody is appreciated in Mara's view of the world. It's good. That's why she's peaceful.
That's the service attitude. She's not competing with him. They're both just serving together. They're serving the same center, so there's no conflict.
Yes.
Right? They're rotating around the same center, right? They're revolving around the same center.
Vegan donuts, Mara. Vegan donuts. That's your calling.
Pizza, I think, right? Donuts is being done.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Vegan pizza.
Yeah.
Vegan pizza.
All right.
Mara makes an incredible vegan cheeses too. You should start a vegan cheese business.
Okay. I know that's the Bhagavatam, but we do have to finish his commentary.
Okay.
At least this paragraph.
This is Swarat. Okay. A reflected glimpse of such service.
Yeah. Friend, service to the friend, or the wife, service unto the husband.
Right.
Friends,
Okay.
parents,
Yeah,
wives,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not forced.
They're
These reflections of service.
You go.
Okay, so when Prabhupada, he's going to talk about reflections, he's saying that the service that we're doing in this world is kind of a reflection of the spiritual relationships that take place on the spiritual platform, in the spiritual realm, So he's saying these reflections of service by friends and by parents or by, wives or spouses, they're not forced, but are due only to love, right? When you serve
Unless they're forced. Unless they're forced.
Unless they're forced. But assuming they're not forced. He says, here in this material world, however, the loving service is only a reflection. The real service, or the service in Svarupa, that eternal form that we have, is present in the transcendental world in the association with the Lord. The very same service in transcendental love can be practiced in devotion here. That's Bhakti-yoga, right? That's I'm going to act. We were speaking yesterday about how the means and the end are the same. Through service here, through my, we were talking about, great souls, like you take someone like Yamuna. How did she become so great? Because she took her whole heart and dedicated into service to her guru, Srila Prabhupada, right? It's like, you know what, I'm not holding back. My faith in this person is so strong. I'm going to dedicate everything. I'm not going to start thinking about all my separate ideas about how I'm going to enjoy this world on my own. I'm going to just give myself to serve selflessly, entirely. And because that, like the book says, a life of unalloyed devotion. That devotion is not alloyed with anything, right? There's nothing mixed in, no selfishness mixed in, no ignorance mixed in. Because it was like just 100%, then the real consciousness comes out, right? And it shines. And when you meet someone like that, it's really shining,
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
So
beautiful.
so it all comes through that service. He's pointing out here that we practice it here, and then it awakens in us, and then that's what we perform like eternally as our Svarupa, it's service. But it's service it's entirely out of love. It's more pleasing to serve than to be served with them. That's a biblical idea, right?
Is it?
It is. Yes, it
Biblical
is.
idea?
In Corinthians, Raghunath.
Oh, Corinthians. Corinthians 1 or Corinthians 2?
I forgot. But in the book of Corinthians, what is it? Paul's letters to the Corinthians. He writes that it is more blessed to give than it is to receive.
Kaustubha would have been a great priest, wouldn't he? Can you
think
see him
so?
as a priest?
I don't know. Any case, in Corinthians, my son, it says that in Paul's letters to the Corinthians, incredible letters, right?
Yeah, he was pretty interesting. Considering he was like a killer. He was a killer
of
Christians.
Yeah, until he had his moment.
Breakthrough.
He had a breakthrough. And so he's saying there, and and I looked into that verse, I looked into the language, and what I found was that the word blessed there really means like the more fundamental, or like the first kind of definition of that word from the original Greek that's used for blessed, is actually happy, which is also very interesting. So in other words, that person that is giving is more blessed with happiness than the person that is receiving.
Susukam kartam avyayam.
That's right.
It is a very joyful practice.
Susukam.
We're not waiting for heaven. We're in heaven as we're rendering service. The monks loading, bunk beds in my apartment were blissful. I was not blissful. I was, what I mean? I was like frustrated and anxiety for them. They were blissful.
They were blissful.
You're blessed.
Service.
Mara, do you have any blessed takeaways for today?
I do.
Blessings to you, Mara.
Blessings to you. Appreciation of great souls is the Bhagavatam.
Ooh, I like it.
Stop waiting.
It's a fact. Actually, the Bhagavatam is nothing but appreciations of great souls. It really is.
Yeah, that's the spoiler alert. That's it. It's it.
Stop waiting to be loved. Act loving.
Yeah,
that was a heavy one. That was a bit heavy. Raghunath, he hit that one with a little bit of
boom.
Yeah, that was a little bit of attitude with that one. Okay, but it's true, so we got to accept it, right?
Yeah.
No one is master in the material world.
Nope.
Yeah.
Real service is love, not an imposition. And you've got to serve someone.
You got to serve somebody.
And happiness comes through
service.
service.
The devil, and it may be the Lord, but you got to serve somebody. Well, that's our show for today, people. Next stop, the Grand Canyon, America's holy pilgrimage spot. And we want to thank Mukunda Kishore for
You know what the
joining
Grand
our show
Canyon
today.
is, Raghunath?
What?
It's a
What?
giant fissure. It's a giant fissure.
Of sorts. It's a fissure of sorts. Ben and Esther's. Okay, everybody follow Ben and Esther's vegan deli in Portland and now in San Diego and maybe coming to your hometown. If you've got nothing to do with your life, you can open a Ben and Esther's yourself. And then we will go to your place. And if you offer the food, it's prasadam. What do you think about that? We want to thank Her Holiness Mother Yamuna for appearing in our lives. We're very grateful to her.
To Yamuna.
Oh. And what else?
Listen to her music today. Listen to her music today.
Yeah. And I want to thank Gopi Skirts for dressing me up at gopiskirts.com or at Gopi Skirts for making me look 4 years younger. I want to thank Bhakti Justin for keeping me awake when I drive. And
that desert
tomorrow
person.
On the show, it's all depending whether I'm in range. Kaustubha says, well, what's up tomorrow? I said, it's up in the air. So it's either going to be, it's either the show's going to happen, but it's either going to be me or Parmananda Jai Jagannath or one of our guest hosts. But I'm hopeful I'll see everybody. I'll also post photos on @Raghunath if you're on Instagram. If you ever want to reach out to me on Instagram, do it. Send me a message. I try to write back. And Wisdom of the Sages Retreat in Long Beach, California might practically be sold out. Reach out to them at Yoga 108 studio.com if you want to come and hang out with some of these Zoomies, some of the others, some of the Californians. It'd be a really nice chance to get to meet everybody in person. Mara is going to be there. We're going to petition her to carry around a bag of vegan meatballs to hand out to everybody. As soon as she sees us, she just places them almost like a Christian body of Christ, and you open your mouth and she puts a vegan meatball right in your mouth. Thank you, Mara. Thank you.
Or at least maybe sushi would be better for that, the vegan sushi.
Vegan sushi? Vegan meatballs. Yeah. See, I prefer the meatballs. Kaustubha goes for the sushi.
But I'm just saying it's shaped better and more convenient for that kind of like...
I'd much rather if someone put a vegan meatball in my mouth than a vegan sushi.
All right.
Personally.
You can have your church, I'll have my church.
Plastic gloves. Lower your mask. Put that meatball right in your mouth. And then New York City, Wisdom of the Sages Retreat. We're expecting, there's a bunch of people here on the show. I'm looking at, I better see you in New York, Lori Pag, Richard O. We better see you there. For the New York immersion, the second weekend of July. And I tell you, some of you guys are secret bhaktis. I want you to crack out of that secretness. I want you to hit the streets and come to see Lord Jagannath on Fifth Avenue. I think if Richard O went to that one, maybe he would find a whole new. He'd be like, "What was I doing my whole life? He's gonna dance down Fifth Avenue like he."
In other words, this is the moment of losing the material mind.
Madman.
Yeah, this is the breakthrough.
Yes, yeah, it's one of those days. You know what? It's coming out. It's coming out. We've all had those coming out moments.
All right.
And it's coming out. You know what? New York City, I love Lord Krishna, and I'm going to let the world know it. And you dance down Fifth Avenue unabashed.